Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's 1:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Sacramento Transportation Authority to order. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll and read the Metro Cable statement?
Good afternoon. Director Steinberg? Frost? Gatewood? Gira? Gotcha. Gira? Hanson? Harris? Howe? Hume? Kennedy? Miller? Natoli? Peters? Sandhu? Chenier? Cerna?
Here.
Suen?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we get started, I'd like to, given where we are today, I think it's useful for us to embrace our nationalism, and I'm going to invite my 6 feet apart neighbor and colleague, Director Cerna, to join in the pledge. And I'd invite everybody listening on the phone and wherever you are, please find a flag or have one in your mind, or you can see it on TV here and join us in the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And if I could just remind folks to mute your phones when you're not speaking, and turn your volumes down so we don't hear the background interference noise over here. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's staying healthy. This is a sign of the times, and it's a new but temporary normal. I know some folks in the public may wonder why these board meetings and council meetings continue to occur. And I would say it's rooted in the hopeful belief that we will get through this. And when we do, the issues that were top of mind, like transportation, traffic, air quality, just a few weeks ago, will once again be in the forefront of our conversations and mindset. At this time, I also want to say that as this meeting is being conducted, we are in compliance with the directives of the state and the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. This meeting will be streamed live, is being streamed live, and will be closed to public attendance. However, you can view the meeting, as Madam Clerk stated, on Metro Cable 14 at metro14live.saccounty.net. Or alternatively, STA website, www.sacta.org. Members of the public are encouraged to participate by submitting written comments electronically. Comments submitted in person will be delivered to the board members by staff. A lot of our board members already have a number of comments that have been submitted earlier today. Written comments regarding matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors and not in the posted agenda will be acknowledged by myself, the chair, at the beginning of the meeting. Public comments will be accepted until the adjournment of the meeting and distributed to the Board of Directors and included in the record. Those will also be posted on the website at STA website for your viewing. And please let us know if you do not see your comment on the website. You can also submit public comments via email at boardclerk@saccounty.net. That's boardclerk, B-O-A-R-D, clerk @saccounty.net. Or in person here at 700 H Street in the Chambers, Sacramento, California, 95814. Okay, I think that's, and I mentioned earlier about folks keeping their mics on mute. and volumes down, if you don't mind. With that, I'm going to look for any open or any comments from the public that are not on the agenda matters. Madam Clerk, do we have any?
We have not received any.
Okay, we have not received any comments for items that are not on the agenda at this time. Director Cerna, you had a question?
Yeah, just another reminder. This is Director Cerna. Someone has not muted their phone. It's making it difficult for us to hear here in the chambers. If you can please mute your phone, that would be greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you, Director Cerna. I appreciate that. Again, I'll just repeat for folks who may not have heard, for opening or public comments not on the agenda, we don't have anyone submitting comments at this time. I don't see any flag from the folks at the doors, and so no one's outside physically dropping any comments off. With that, I'd like to, yes, Director Frost, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, yeah. Virtual hand, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, Director Frost. We've received a number of public comments, and I want to thank you for your email. I think that had a great effect in obtaining a lot of input from your constituents. But and we'll get into that when the agenda item comes up. But at this time, the protocol that the clerk, the executive officer, and county council have worked out, and with my condonement, is we will list out what the general consensus of what those public comments are. We will not read each and every one. I mean, there are several hundred, so we will not read each and every one, but we will express a tally and a sentiment, and for the board members to inform any decision as we take action on the agenda item. With that, I would. No. Well, yeah, yes, we. Well, I believe I understand the agenda item you're referring to, and when we get there, yes, the Madam Clerk will be able to provide a summary of those comments. So we'll get there in due time. At this point, moving on. Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd like to move on to item number 2, the Executive Director's Report. Mr. Kempton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and thank you for putting up with the inconvenience in this difficult time. I think it is important that we move forward with some of these issues, and everyone has been very collaborative. First of all, the California Transportation Commission was scheduled to meet in Santa Barbara on March 25th and 26th. The meeting in Santa Barbara has been canceled, and they will be going to a webinar format for the meeting. And this is an important meeting as it includes adoption of the state transportation improvement program, guidelines for the local partnership program, the active transportation program, a number of other items. So if anybody is interested in accessing information, they can either go to this CTC's website at www.cactc.ca.gov or they can actually call at 916-654-4245. I wanted to give you an update on the schedule for Council and Board of Supervisor presentations. The dates are included in your agenda packet. We have all of the dates set, recognizing the times that we're facing. Those dates may be changed and moved around, but we will move quickly and work with the local jurisdictions to try to get those meetings scheduled as quickly as possible. And then finally, the Supervisor Natoli asked at our February 26th meeting for sort of a summary of the activity that went on with the ad hoc committee, and I did provide a summary of that by meeting, and it's included in your agenda packet. That completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kempton. Any questions for the Executive Director? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. I'm going to move on to item 3, consent items. Approve action summary for February 26, 2020, STA Governing Board, a special meeting. Do I have any comments on that, first of all? Any public comments? Okay, hold on. I looked at the clerk. I see no public comments, and I see no public comments at the door. So I have a motion from Director Natoli and a second from.
Right.
Okay, welcome, Director Steinberg. Okay, so I have a motion from Director Natoli. I have a second from Director Cerna, and call it for a vote. Madam Clerk, do we need to do a roll call vote on all of this as well? Okay,
Yes.
so we'll do that so we can get everybody.
Okay. So Steinberg,
Is it abstain?
abstain. Frost, Gatewood, Gitta,
Aye.
Hanson, Harris, Howe, Hume, Kennedy, Miller, Natoli, Peters, Sandhu, Chenier, Cerna,
Aye.
Suen.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Next item, item 4, is the status of development of the proposed Measure A 2020 Ordinance and Transportation Expenditure Plan and tentative adoption of the Measure A 2020 Expenditure Plan. Before I turn it over to Executive Director Kempton, I just want to again emphasize our need to continue business in recognizing we will be facing these issues again when things get back to normal. Today, we are talking about voting on the adoption of a tentative adoption multimodal transportation expenditure plan. If affirmed, this would merely maintain a long schedule with many steps and preserves our options into the future. So I just want to clarify that for folks. We're merely trying to preserve our options that we take in the future. Things changed very drastically for everyone just a few weeks ago. Could happen again a few months from now. So for the better, with hope. In any case, there's many steps along the way, and we're merely talking about the expenditure plan today. Director Kempton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This is a continuation of the public hearing on the draft ordinance and TEP, but the major feature of the action today is to consider and tentatively adopt the Measure A 2020 expenditure plan and approve circulation of the plan to the cities and the county for consideration pursuant to Section 180206B of the Public Utilities Code. The Transportation Expenditure Plan is included as Exhibit A of the proposed ordinance number STA 20-01, and for this action, the authority is being asked to approve only the Transportation Expenditure Plan, which is attached to the staff report, and an updated version of the proposed ordinance number STA 20-01 is included on the STA website for reference. The website posting includes Exhibit A, the Transportation Expenditure Plan, and Exhibit B, Measure A, taxpayer safeguards. At the last authority meeting on February 20th, staff presented an update on the proposed Measure A ordinance and Transportation Expenditure Plan for discussion purposes only. This was the plan at the time, which, as you can see, had a total of $8.2 billion in revenues, and with the breakout that is shown on this particular slide. There were changes made to that document but based on comments from the board and other discussions. We added language defining off-the-top expenditures, including items such as the American River Parkway dollars, money going to the Regional Mobility Center, and a number of other items. We made changes to the language related to complete streets and road and health safety. We worked with stakeholders on that language, and that is included in the revised Transportation Expenditure Plan. We revised the revenue estimate, and that now stands at about $380 billion. We added distribution language for local projects of regional significance. That is the projects that, with the money going by formula to the local agencies, and the members of those agencies worked out a distribution process, which is now embodied in the expenditure plan. We changed dollar amounts for major expenditure categories to reflect the latest versions of the Transportation Expenditure Plan. Those are included in the document. We added to the description for senior and disabled transportation services the words, "and any designated consolidated transportation services agency." We added accountability language to the definition of commuter rail enhancements to ensure that any of the dollars that come from our measure are spent in Sacramento County. We added program descriptions for transportation management agencies and the American River Parkway. And we added language regarding compliance with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. That is a brief summary of the changes that were made to the plan. Let me review for you the proposed application of additional revenue, which we provided previously, but there is an additional item on here at the request of Supervisor Natoli. We've added an additional $8 million for transportation management agencies. So we have $63 million going for the American River Parkway, $50 million additional for air quality programs, $51 million for local streets and roads, $34 million for transit maintenance and operation. And because of the increase in the dollar amount, another $2 million for program administration, which is part of the 1% total. And then the timeline, just to go over this with you, we are at today, although it says March 12th on the chart that's contained in your packet, that is now March 18th, the meeting we're holding today. We will presumably ask for your consideration and tentative adoption of the Measure A Transportation Expenditure Plan. Then we will make the rounds, as I discussed earlier, to the cities and the county for approvals. On April 9th, it's our intention to introduce the final Measure A ordinance, which would include the Transportation Expenditure Plan. And then on May 14th, ask the Governing Board to formally adopt the Measure A ordinance, which will include the Transportation Expenditure Plan. That will be necessary to have a 2/3 vote, and then we would forward it to the County Board of Supervisors for certification and approval to place on the ballot. We're currently working with the county on a July 14th date to accomplish that, recognizing that the circumstances we're experiencing right now may result in some adjustments in these dates. This is the current schedule, and of course November 3rd of 2020 as Election Day. So the actual expenditure plan in summary looks like this. It's a total of $8.378.3 billion. We've got $3.876 billion going to local streets and roads, $1.7 billion going to RT maintenance operations and transformative system improvements, $2,010 million that will be going for congestion relief improvements, including transit and rail congestion improvements, as well as highway congestion improvements. It's $250 million for senior and disabled transportation. Air quality off the top will be $177.5 million. American River Parkway also off the top at $63 million. Rail operations off the top at $120 million. The Regional Mobility Center off the top at $20 million. Transportation agencies, management agencies off the top at $8 million. And then, of course, the $83.8 million for administration. So that's a total of $4,826 million that will be going for streets, roads, and highways, and $3,200 million that will go for transit and rail. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to the folks on the phone first if there's any questions. And please, just for now, if you have questions, just say your name and so I can get a list going if there are. Are there any questions from the directors on the phone? Okay, no questions. And any questions from my colleagues here? I see no questions. Okay, I'm going to go to public comment, but as I do, I want to get back to Director Frost's question. I'm going to defer to County Counsel, Mr. Burke, if you could explain our process here.
Sure, thank you. This is Bill Burke. So the first thing I'll say is that the process that the director and the board clerk and I have worked out, it is consistent with the governor's most recent executive order, which he issued, I believe, yesterday afternoon, and that does allow for receipt of electronic or telephonic comments, and that's what we've done here. I believe these comments have been collected over maybe the past couple of days or more. I don't know how much time the members have had so far to go through them, but there are a lot. It's a big stack of comments. I believe right now we're looking at 540 separate comments. So I will say this, it is legal under the executive order from yesterday to receive these comments electronically. Now, the next step is going to be really up to the authority as to how you want to, I guess, receive those. You have options, and I'll talk through just a couple of options that you have. You don't have to take any one of these. The first option is probably not feasible, but that is to literally read each and every comment into the record. Again, we've got a huge stack here, and that's probably not realistic. Another option is to basically take time to allow for a half hour or something like that for each member to go through. I believe you've been emailed all these comments by the board clerk, to go through and take time to skim through them or go through them as you can in a half hour or some period of time. The other option is to have the clerk summarize for you the comments that we've received. The clerk has gone through and they've made their best effort to basically assign whether or not each comment is thumbs up or thumbs down or neutral, and she can do that for you. So that'll be for for the members to consider how you want to handle that. But in terms of receiving public comment, receiving them electronically is legal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burke. And Director Cerna, you have a question.
Thank you for the explanation. Is there another? I'm not sure if you included in any of your alternatives the fact that we have received them, as you mentioned, as they've come in, which has actually given directors the opportunity to read them as they come in. So just by way of actually having them in our possession now with the summary sheet, I assume not doing anything other than acknowledging that we do have them, that satisfies the spirit and intent of the law as well?
Yes, at a minimum, I recommend that the clerk read their summary into the record.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Natoli, go ahead. Thank you, Director Natoli. And I would concur. I mean, I think each director needs to make a choice whether they're able to digest these comments in enough fashion as to inform their decision and take action accordingly. I want to also defer now to Madam Clerk, if you could please provide a summary of the comments.
Total number in opposition was 448. Total number in support was 66. Total in neutral or comments only was 26. And so far, as of 11:30 today, that was 540 comments received.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And again, I want to commend Supervisor Frost. I know you had sent out an email, and I know there were a lot of folks, several hundred, that submitted their comments directly from your area. So appreciate you reaching out to folks and getting them involved and engaged in this process. So, yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Director Frost. Hold on. I appreciate that, Director Frost. We don't know, and I heard Director Chenier and Director Hansen. And before I give you the floor, I just want to say I got some notice from the clerk that we've had just recently 33 more comments have come in, and so we're getting those distributed, uploaded to the website and distributed to folks. And folks, could you please mute your phones if you're not speaking? Thank you. Or turn it down as well. And then also a point of clarification, as of yesterday morning, we received one public comment. Once the revised agenda was published after 2 p.m. yesterday, there was 200 public comments, over 200 public comments that came in. So that's just as of yesterday afternoon after 2 p.m. when the revised agenda was published. So there was a short period of time in between. Okay, with that additional information, Director Chenier, you wanted to had a question or a comment? Perhaps I heard wrong. Maybe it wasn't Director Chenier. I did hear Director Hansen. Okay. Thank you, Director Hansen. I would concur, and just to reiterate, we've had several public meetings on this topic. This is not new. All of us combined individually have heard from our stakeholders and constituents on this matter, and there will be ample opportunity for each of our respective constituents to speak to us directly at our respective jurisdictions if this goes forward. And then there's several, with each juncture, there's several steps in the process to either continue or abandon this effort. But again, as I stated at the opening, this is an opportunity for us to keep our options open. Having said that, and hearing no other comments or questions, I would seek my colleagues' direction to entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move adoption.
Okay, I have a motion from Director Cerna and a second from Director Hansen. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, we need to do a roll call. Sorry, roll call vote. Thank you.
Yes.
No, it was a motion to adopt the expenditure plan.
Tentatively
adopt. Excuse me. Tentatively adopt the expenditure plan. There was no further discussion at this time. We're receiving comments that are available to the public, and folks will have an opportunity to chime in at their respective jurisdictions on this matter when this matter comes before them, if this motion carries.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tentatively adopting.
Tentatively adopting to carry forward to the respective jurisdictions for their consideration. And am I saying that correctly? Okay. That is correct. Yeah. And I understand, Director Tolley, and just so you have comfort, I'm gonna look to the executive officer if you would mind just repeating that what you had said earlier about basically framing up your presentation, summary of your presentation.
Okay, Mr. Chair and members, first of all, you are being asked to tentatively adopt the Transportation Expenditure Plan, which is an exhibit of the ordinance STA 20-01. That ordinance will not be taken up until later, currently scheduled for consideration on May 14th. So the contents of the expenditure plan are the discussion. There are some policy issues that are included in there. There are some, for the most part, breakdown of the expenditures that will be made should the ordinance be approved, placed on the ballot, and approved by the voters. There are dollar amounts by major category of activities, and there are descriptions of the programs that will be funded. So it is a fairly complete document related to proposed expenditures of a 40-year sales tax program in Sacramento County, which would begin on April 21st, 2021, and go through March 31st of 2061.
Thank you. Yeah. Hold on, Director Tolley. Before you answer, I see County Council wanting to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to make one quick point about voting. For the purposes of this vote today, the tentative adoption of the expenditure plan, you're only going to need your majority, your simple majority of 9 votes. But when you ultimately have to vote, if it gets that far, if you get to adoption of the ordinance, which includes the expenditure plan, that's going to require a supermajority. That's 11 of you. So today it can be 9, but it's got to be 11 when it comes back in a couple of months.
And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to come back. There's
hold on,
one further point. Yeah. On tentative adoption, the expenditure plan cannot be changed or modified until we're through the process that's required by the Public Utilities Code. I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay, thank you. Director Natoli? Absolutely. No. Yeah. And I apologize. I perhaps didn't no one hear me. I asked for questions earlier, but I heard none. That's the only reason why I called for the vote. So forgive me, Director Natoli. Mr. Kempton, could you go ahead and provide an explanation to Mr. Natoli's comment? And
I believe, Mr. Chair, that Mayor Steinberg also wanted to make a comment, but. In short, there is language relative to compliance with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategies document that was approved in November of this past year by SACOG. That language requires compliance with the MTP prior to the allocation of funds for projects. Projects that are in the programmed or planned section of the MTP, which is a number of our projects included in our plan, are allowed to proceed. Projects that don't have that planned or programmed status will have to be found in compliance with the MTP. There is an amendment, a process built in for mitigation. If a project does not meet those requirements, parties can work with SACOG to develop a mitigation plan that would permit the project to be funded. If that cannot be achieved, then the dollars that are set aside in the plan, because they won't be in the hands yet of the recipient agency, those projects would go to the appropriate local jurisdiction to be spent on projects that are in compliance with the MTP.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just clarify that plan and program for construction, a vast majority of the expenditure plan is already slated for that. And by parties, the intent of that language was for STA, SACOG, and the local jurisdiction. Yeah, thank you. Which could include a transit agency is the intent. And Mr. Kempton, thank you, for your comment about Director Steinberg. Did you want to clarify that for Director Natoli? Thank you, Director Steinberg. Director Frost, sorry, just one more. Hold on, Director Frost. I had to sign up also for Director Cerna. Go ahead, Director Cerna, and then you, Director Frost. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to dovetail off of what Mayor Steinberg just said and thank him for his thoughtful approach to this as well. I just want to, for the record, also acknowledge the fact that I believe the resolution to this issue, which has been kind of at the forefront of everyone's minds lately to get us to this point today, I believe also addresses the concerns that were expressed by the California Air Resources Board in their letter. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that and that it's been acknowledged on the record. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Frost. Okay, please mute your phones, please, if you're not talking. Sorry, Director Frost, go ahead. Okay, thank you, Director Frost. Director Hume. That is correct, and the May time frame could be later. We just don't know.
Close the public hearing, and you can't accept any more comments. Can you do that? Yeah, you can close the public hearing.
That is correct. Yep. Thank you. Yes, who's speaking? Oh, yes, Director Hansen. Yep. Thank you, Director Hansen. Yeah, yep, Director Harris, go ahead. Thank you, Director Harris. If there are no other comments from the board members, I also want to take the opportunity to announce we've had 21 more public comments come in that you'll be receiving. I'm going to also close public comment at this time. I believe we've got a motion and a second on the floor, and I just want to say I think this is a culmination of a lot of hard work and a testament to regional collaboration that goes way beyond just this any one measure, and has the ability, if successful, to set the stage for future collaborative efforts within this county. And it's a very complex thing for all these jurisdictions with different needs to work together and to come together on something like this is truly could truly be a testament to what we can achieve in the future. And I do believe we will get through this current crisis, and when we do, these types of issues, these everyday issues, will come back right before us where we left off. So as Director Harris stated and others stated, it's important for us to carry on our work. Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and please take the roll call vote, please?
Director Steinberg? Frost? Gatewood? No. Guerra?
Aye.
Hansen? Harris? Howe? Hume? Kennedy? Miller? Natoli? Peters? Sandhu? Chenier? Cerna?
Aye.
And Suen.
Aye.
Motion carries with Frost, Gatewood, and Miller voting no.
Okay, thank you very much. And Director Guerra, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to take this time to thank you, Mr. Chair, for the leadership that you've taken on in this and working and pulling everyone, particularly in the middle of this. And this has been a one difficult one that's for the region, and I appreciate your regional leadership on this.
Hear, hear.
Thank you very much. And I also want to return the favor and thank all of the committee members and the board and the staff and the PAG who put so many hours in all these conversations. It's truly a team effort, and I appreciate you all. Please stay safe out there. And without further ado, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You missed your comments. Anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's okay.